Hello, welcome back to Discovering Audio. Today we're going to be going over my vocal mix in the track Fairy Tales. So you want to listen to the vocal dry. So here's the vocal completely dry with no processing on it.
Rhyme, the melodrama bends the lines, in and out of time, developing a storyline.
Yeah, so the vocals quite well recorded, so I haven't really done a lot of corrective EQ to make it sound great, really. So for my main EQ, I'm just using the SSLG channel. It looks like this. I'm just using a bit of a high shelter, 10k, a little bit of a presence boost in a high pass filter, no compression, no dynamics, etc. A little bit of a cut at 1.5k just to remove a little bit of the nasally sound that was coming from it. So EQ.
The melodrama bends the lines.
EQ really cleans it up and brings it up front in the mix, where you won't really want this vocal to sit. I've used a technique to really thicken up the vocals a little bit, so I'm using the SSLG channel again as the main EQ, but this time it's got the Lexicon multi-voice pitch on it in the Fat Fatna preset. So on its own that sounds like that.
The melodrama bends the lines.
So it's a bit like a chorus and a stereo wind on one plugin, and it really helps thickening up the mix, vocal mix, and add some depth to the vocals. So this mixed in with the main vocal sounds like that. Sounds like this.
The melodrama bends the lines, in and out of time.
Yeah, so that technique really helps the vocal sound a lot thicker and a lot fuller. It comes across in the mix a lot better as well. So if I just bring this in.
The melodrama bends the lines.
With just those three plugins, it's really starting to come out in the mix. So for I've grouped those two tracks into a bus, and I'm using DPR 402 as my main stereo compressor. The amount of gain reduction changes throughout the entire track. So in the quiet sections, it's getting 3 dBs with a gain reduction.
The melodrama bends the lines.
It just really just brings those sections up a little bit. Help it sit on top, sit in with the mix properly. And the choruses, it's doing a lot more compression.
When deep inside hit you like a fairy tale, the sonic stream of images.
Yeah, so it's got like 9 dBs worth of gain reduction on there, so it's hit the compressor quite substantially. So in this plugin, it's quite a complex plugin really. So I'm using the de-esser section of this plugin as well. It's just smoothing out some of the S's and some of the sibilants in the vocal. I'm also using the peak limiter just to smoothing off the peaks at the output stage. So my sends, I'm using the R Reverb, just the vocal plate preset.
When deep inside hit you like a fairy tale.
It's mixed in quite subtly. Just adds a little bit of depth. Fucking now, a little bit of depth to the mix. So the interesting part of this vocal processing here is the distortion I've used. Just add a little bit of grit. I've just used it to add a little bit of grit to the vocal, really. That's what that sounds like.
When deep inside hit you like a fairy tale. The sun.
And that's just mixed in to be barely audible. That's a nice crunch to the top end, and it really helps it cut through the mix. Finally, I'm just using a H delay. Just a little bit of H delay to add a little bit more depth into the background.
When deep inside hit you like a fairy tale.
So I'm using a high pass filter just to filter out some of the low end up until the point where it doesn't clash with the main vocal as much. So where the OS3 on, it comes out with quite a good vocal sound.
When deep inside hit you like a fairy tale. The sonic stream of images.
So in context of the mix, really, the processing I've done has helped the vocals to just sit within the mix and be audible throughout the entire track, because in some sections it's a lot quieter. So, say the verse.
In a verse of rhyme, the melodrama bends the lines. In and out of time.
So that just really keeps it from getting lost in the mix. So turn the plugins off, you'll understand, you'll hear what it's doing. It's not very well audible. Turn it back on for. It sounds a lot better. It sits on the mix properly, especially for this part here in the last verse. Yep, so especially in the verses where the instrumentation's a lot more complex, the vocal really sits on top of the mix. Remains audible throughout the entire track. And that was really my main goal when mixing the vocal into this. Also there's a little bit of grit, just to the character of the vocal. Some standard reverbs and delays just to give some depth to it. So, hope you've found this video interesting, and I hope you've learned something useful.